Shalom. Shalom, Israel's brothers Yalla. Coming back at you with another cold cut. I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Right, another mighty Shabbat day. Shalom, shalom, family. Right, shalom to those that are on the comment board. Solomon McFadden, Shabbat shalom, family. Don Israel, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. T Sellers on the scene. Shalom, shalom, man. As we know, there's going to be a lot of so-called holidays coming up. We already had, the Sinmas, Christmas. You had Thanksgiving. You had New Year's with Janice, but you're going to have a lot more of these holidays roll in as Esau so-called declares the second part of the year. Well, the early part of the year, right? You're going to have Valentine's Day. You're going to have St. Patrick's Day. What else? What else are you going to have? Easter, right? You're going to have all of these wicked holidays, and then you're going to have the high holy days, right? But our job is to dive into these wicked holidays, go into the history, see what these people in the world are celebrating, see what we used to celebrate, and see how evil these things really are. And we got to go into the history and bring out the truth year after year, man, just to remind ourselves on how wicked this world really is. Right? This world is wicked. This world is awful, right? Because of the things they push, things that people celebrate, and they have no idea the history behind these different things. So we want to go into these things, and we want to unveil the truth, unhide the truth, because Esau, he likes to hide the truth. Esau is a very wicked man. Right, let me pull this up. Right, let me share my screen. Let me pull this up real quick. Because Esau likes to hide the truth in darkness, changed everything, defiled the land. Right? Let me get this real quick. With Job chapter 18. Right? Let's deal with Job chapter 18. And I'm going to start at verse 18. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. And spiritually, we're chasing Esau out the world. How? By unveiling the things that he has did in the dark. By unveiling the things that he has did in the dark, man. Right? By declaring what his high holy days are about, his holidays, that a lot of the people may not have known. They thought they were just keeping Christmas. They thought they were keeping, New Year's, Valentine's Day. We're going to go into the history of Valentine's Day. What is Valentine's Day? We're going to go into that. Right? I'm just going to give you a heart, and it's innocence. You get it in elementary school. You was handing out chocolates. You have all the rose. Right? But now, since we unveiling the truth, people are chasing this man out the world, man. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. They that come after him shall be astonished at this day, and as that they were before were affrighted. Surely such as are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God. This is that place. We're living in that place of him that knoweth not the Most High, man. Right? That knoweth not the Most High. Right? We are in that place. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 24. Right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. Because we're going to get into it. We're going to get into what these things are about. All right? We're going to get into it, get into the history. Lord willing, you learn something, right? It's Isaiah 24:5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant, man. Right? So with these high holy days that Esau likes to push out, his holidays, they transgressed the laws of the Lord. They changed the ordinances, man, and broken covenants that the Most High has made. You're going to see When you see what I'm about to pull up through the spirit power, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, it's gonna blow your mind how crazy this man is. Right? It's gonna utterly blow your mind. Because this is the place of him that knoweth not the Most High. This is that place of darkness that Job was talking about. Right? I'm going to Job, and those that know of what I'm about to bring out, you know how this man needs to be destroyed for that. Right? It's Job chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at verse 21. It says, "Before I go, whence I shall not return, even to the land of darkness and the shadow of death, a land of darkness as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death without any order, and where the light is as darkness." Man, this place is without any order. This is the land of darkness that Job was talking about. No order. You can do whatever you want here. You can celebrate whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be. The light is as darkness, because when we bring out the light, we're looked at as hate, extreme terrorism, right? We're looked at as people. We don't accept the world. We don't accept everybody. We're not from this world. We're the light, right? But Esau's the darkness. But he portrays himself as the light bearer. He portrays himself as if he has all knowledge, right? Esau's Lucifer. Esau is Lucifer. Isaiah chapter 14 and 12. "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Right? Because he's fallen from his rulership. He's fallen from heaven. This place is going down as we speak. His lies are being uncovered. His military is not the strongest anymore. You have Israelites waking up, building an army in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. It says, "How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" And how did Esau weaken the nations? Through his philosophies, through his religion, through the holidays that he celebrates. He's bewitching the minds of the people. I mean, that's how he weakens the nations. You have never seen a Moabite man in China celebrate Valentine's Day until this man got on the scene. Now they in China passing over damn box of chocolate hearts. Talking about ding dang dong dong dong. And she says, right? And then guess what? They get married after that. Because of Esau's wicked high holy days, man. He's weakening the nations. You don't see them celebrating that stuff in India. Now they are. They want to get down with the so-called white men. "For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." And that's what he says. Because the Lord gave us high holy days to keep in Leviticus chapter 23. And Esau says, "No, I'm going to give you my holidays and you better read it. And I'm going to put it in the Constitution. I'm going to put it in all these laws." So what the Lord say? "Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell and to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?" Right? They're gonna look at Esau like, how did he do this? How did this man have the whole earth in power? I mean, there's gonna come a time you're gonna be looking at the Edomite in the kingdom, and you're gonna say, "Him?" And your great grandchildren that you're gonna be looking at, because you're not gonna die, you live forever. And they're gonna say, "Well, how he had the earth in power?" He said, "Yes." And they're gonna look at him and they're gonna say, "How? How did this feeble man and woman with no melanin, stringy hair, blue eyes, right? Feeble, how did he rule the world?" Because the Lord said he's gonna be brought down. Right? Let's get into this. All right, let's get into this. So, if you don't know anything about Valentine's Day, as all Esau's wicked holidays, it stems from somewhere, right? It stems from paganism, idolatry, lewdness, foolishness, all manner of evil, right? Sloppy. Another word for Valentine's Day, if you didn't know, is Lupercalia, right? A festival of fertility and prosperity, right? Esau always has these festivals for fertility, right? Then they got Easter about that too, right? About fertility. This means sex. Esau just wants to have sex all day, right? And prosperity, right? Let's look up that word prosperity. Prosperity definition. Right? That doesn't really help. The state of being prosperous. Right? The meaning of prosperity is the condition of being successful or thriving. So this is holidays about thriving. Well, we're gonna get into that. Right? Yeah, I told you. Right, we're gonna get into that. Right, but this holiday is about thriving in the so-called white man's kingdom. Fertility, thriving, lust, passion, right? But let's get into it. It says Lupercalia in its relationship to Valentine's Day, right? I have chosen to research, right? This is by Helen Charlie Nellist, right? I have chosen to research Lupercalia for my post as a celebration holds some personal significance for me. It is a festival of fertility and prosperity celebrated in ancient Rome between the 13th and the 15th of February. So this all goes back to the Roman Empire. This is the Roman Empire all over again. Read Revelation 17, right? Revelation 18, right? This is Revelation 13. This is the Roman Empire all over again. It says a date which holds much importance to me as it is my birthday. See that? In this blog, I intend to explain how I likely tied into with St. Valentine's Day. The origin of the name Lupercalia, also known as the Feast of Lupercal, is derived not only from the Roman fertility god Lupercus, but also from the name given to the cave where Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, were alleged to have been nurtured by a she-wolf. Right? So if you don't know anything about the Roman Empire, the Romans say they came into power when you're living during this, when you was around this time. This is what they would teach you in the Roman schools. That the Roman Empire came into power because you had twins named Romulus and Remus, these twins, and they got nurtured. They were lost in the wilderness, and they were nurtured by a she-wolf, right? They were nurtured by a she-wolf. This is how the so-called white man says they came into power during the time of Rome. And we know that's not true, right? Now we know that's not true, but it all goes back to what? The Roman fertility god, Lupercus. So when you're celebrating this day, you're giving honor to another god named Lupercus, right? Keep that in mind. And it says the legend goes that in the 6th century BC, the twins' father, King Romulus, ordered that they should be drowned as infants in the river Tiber after their mother broke the vow of celibacy. So drown your kids, right? And it says, having been placed in a basket by a servant that took pity on them, they were carried down the river by the river god, and were caught in the branches of a fig tree. So their father didn't want them and try to, destroy them by putting them in the river to their death. But there was a so-called river god, that was so-called guiding the way, right? That's what they say. They were discovered by a female wolf who raised them in her den at the base of Palatine Hill, where Rome was founded, that would later be named Lupercal. So this wolf found these 2 Edomite children and raised them, so-called, right? And that same place was Lupercal. The festival of Lupercalia was in itself a very violent and sexually charged affair that was carried out in 2 separate locations. Firstly, in the cave itself, wicked, and secondly, in a Roman open air public meeting place called the Comitium. So this so-called holiday, as we read, is about being very violent and sexually charged, just like the winter solstice, which is called Christmas, just like Easter, when you're really celebrating the Queen of Heaven, right? Just like July 4th, right? We know that's wicked, right? What else? You celebrate Janus, the damn Roman god of 2 faces, when you celebrate New Year's. All of these things goes back to what? Sexually charged and very violent, right? And they would celebrate these in caves, right? And then in open public meetings, meaning you just out there, just being violent and sexually charged. You know? There's touching women, men grabbing them. If a man was to ever grab my man, grab something in the public meeting place, there's a problem. You're not just touching Jake. But this is how these Edomites get down. This is madness. Now it says in caves. What were the Israelites doing in caves? Were they doing this? Were they doing that? Let's get it. Because last time I checked, my forefathers was trying to be righteous. They had to run to the caves to keep the Sabbath day. All right. This is 2 Maccabees 6 and 10. I started verse 9. So this is what happened during the reign of the so-called white man. While they was doing lewdness in caves, because that's where they come from, let's see what the Israelites were doing in caves. This 2 Maccabees 6 and 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and partakers of the sacrifices. So you have Ptolemy, right? You got these heathen that want us to do the same things as them. They wanted you to do this. They wanted you to do this. Be violent, sexually charged. Right? They wanted you to observe the same fashions. Right? And it says, verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles, right? Because our people wasn't just getting down with being touched in the open places nor in the caves. It says, should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them dead headlong from the wall, right? They tortured our women in their infants for trying to circumcise our children, being righteous, right? Verse 11, and others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly. So being discovered to Philip were all burnt together because they had made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. Right? So you had Israelites being righteous in caves. Right? You had Israelites that were being righteous in caves. They weren't doing nasty things. They were keeping the most sacred day. So you have the righteous doing one thing and you have the wicked doing another. That's what the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. So we got to bring this out. We got to condemn Esau for who he really is. These days, you got your 10-year-old niece. You got your 10-year-old niece talking about, I got some chocolates from the principal at school. He was handing them out to everybody, but he looked at me and he said, these are for you, pretty lady. Right? And he touched me and he tapped her arm behind. And she brings it to you and she's smiling. And that principal is a 68-year-old Edomite celebrating this day of violent and wicked sexually charged things, man. Right? This is madness, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse. Right? Give me a second. Right, this is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 13. I'm going to start at verse 12. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. He is clean, contrary to our doings. He is clean, contrary to our doings. We're clean contrary to what Esau's doing. We're not doing what he's doing. Right? You have Israelites trying to keep the Sabbath day in caves, and you have other Edomites trying to freak off in caves. Like animals. Right? Like that wolf they profess to be. He upbraideth us with our offending of the law, and objective to our infamy the transgressions of our education. And this is the transgressions of Esau's education. This is what they teach you. This is what they teach you. How to keep Valentines. While we too busy, the Israelites are too busy trying to tell you how to keep Passover, how to keep the Feast of Ingathering, Pentecost, how to keep the new moon, the high new moon, Feast of Trumpets, teaching you how to, use the land, agriculture, teaching you how to give back to your brother and your sister that's in a poor state. Esau's teaching you how to be violent and sexually charged, and then turn around and puts you in jail, Jake. As soon as you observe their fashions, they turn around and hit you with 37 charges. Right? But guess what? That's the transgressions of Esau's education. He professes to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord, right? This is what we do. We are the children of the Most High, and they're the children of the wicked. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us to behold, for his life is not like the other men's, his ways are of another fashion, right? Because we're doing breakdowns and reproving Esau of what this thing is, right? But let's carry on, right? And it says, the festival of Lupercalia was in itself a very violent and sexually charged affair that was carried out in two separate locations. First in the cave itself, and secondly in a Roman open-air public meeting place called the Comitium. At the Lupercal cave, a dog and one more of a male goat, and this is the first time I'm reading this too, so I'm just, we kind of skimmed through it, but now I'm reading it in depth with you all, right? And it says to represent sexuality were sacrificed by the Luperci, a group of priests. Wait, hold on. That sounds familiar. A group of priests doing sacrifices, right? A group of priests doing sacrifices on the left-hand side. That sounds like Babylon the Great. Right? Didn't the brother Naquam do a video on all those Amalekites that got caught with babies, doing blood sacrifices on Jake babies, and doing all other manner of lewd things for Satan to keep their power in the earth? Group of priests being sacrificed, right? Two of them at this point naked would have been smeared by the blood from the sacrificial knife. As the Luperci priest laughed, the blood was removed with wool soaked in milk. Man, this is wicked. Strips of the freshly sacrificed goats were then cut to form what are referred as thongs or fabrua. These were to be used later in the celebration, and it's likely to be where the name for our month of February found its origins. So the month of February was found by priests sacrificing a goat, right, to a god that represented sexuality, right? And then Jake, they give you they give you this month. They make it the shortest month of the year, and they give it to you, right? And then they give you Martin Luther King all day. They shove Martin Luther King down your children's throat, right? With Rosa Parks in the back of the school, that same school bus. They throw Birmingham, Alabama, Georgia at you, right? And this is what they give you, right? If you're lucky, they may give you Malcolm X. But this month that they give you, Jake, goes back to sexuality and priests laughing, right, while being smeared with blood. This is Esau, right? The festivities were then transferred to the city of ancient Rome. Naked or near naked, the Luperci ran around using the fabrura to whip all women who were in striking distance. Damn. They were whipping women in striking distance. Why? This was a fertility rite welcomed by many of the ladies present, who often bared their skin to be lashed. Location was often important. For example, a lashed breast may lead to lactation. At this this is wild. I don't even have female parts and I'm grabbing my chest because this is ridiculous. You had Edomite women. So let's paint this picture. You had Edomite women that would kind of undress themselves a little bit, run around and be whipped by other Edomite men and women so they can have more fertility. Yeah, hit me right here in my chest so I can produce more milk. Hit me in my back. They bared their skin to be lashed. openly whipped, right? As time progressed, this tradition became more chaste as nudity fell out of favor and women were whipped on their hands by fully clothed men. So they said, you know what, maybe we doing too much. I'm getting whipped around naked in front of my daughter. Let me just open my hands and get whipped by other men. Still off, but they were running around getting whipped. Look at this. You got goats, men with whips with blood, and this Edomite. According to the article, she will be undressed, right? But they about to beat her ass. They about to whoop her so she can produce more babies. She's in striking distance. I mean, they about to whoop her, man. Right? Look at this. This over there is torturing. Look at these Edomite women. It's torturing. Smacking them around. See that? That's what they were doing on this day. And you, Jake, you love this day. Jake, you love this day. Right? In the world, you kind of, you got your Air Force Ones. Right? You got the white pants. Right? You got your Gucci belt, as my brothers always say. You got your white polo shirt. And you think you look good. You got your earrings in your ear. And you say, okay, I'm about to get this rose. Tasha, I'm gonna get Tasha this rose. I'm gonna ask her out. And homies, they was like, all right, you ask her out, you gotta you gotta throw some game on her. It's Valentine's Day. Maybe get her a box of chocolates. And Jake, you get her a box of chocolates. Right? And after you get her a box of chocolates, can you be my Valentine? She said, and everybody said, oh, right? And then they running around, not around the school, y'all a thing. Around y'all a thing now. Right? But they was really beating each other on this day, Jake. You don't know that. You over here trying to get Tasha, and you have Edomite women that's readily being whipped so they can produce more wicked babies on the earth in the name of their sexual god, Lupercalia. Right? So, let's go back to this. And it says, jump down. Next, women's names were randomly drawn from jars by the men to decide who would couple with whom for the duration of the feasting and subsequent revelry. So they had names in a jar, and they picking names out of a jar to match them up for the next 2 days. Many couples would choose to stay together to the following year's celebration. Quite a number of them would fall in love and often got married. So they, you had people that was just, all right, y'all gonna be together for the next 2 days, right? And they was just, matching up with each other, right? So I got some more history on this. All right. So now that we know it goes back to Lupercalia, this day, February 13th to February 15th. Right? And it says, Lupercalia was an ancient pagan festival held each year in Rome on February 15th. Although Valentine's Day shares its name with a martyred Christian saint, some historians believe that the holiday is actually on an offshoot of Lupercalia. Unlike Valentine's Day, however, Lupercalia was a bloody, violent, and sexually charged celebration awash with animal sacrifice, right? So paganism, idolatry on this day. Random matchmaking and coupling, we just read about that, and coupling in the hopes of warding off evil spirits and fertility, which is a hypocrite because you're bringing evil spirits. You're bringing fornication, lust, lasciviousness. This sacrifices unto Satan. Random matchmaking. All right? Let's jump down. Look, ritual sacrifice. Right? We kind of read this. Right? We read this. All right, let's see. Saint Valentine. Now, I'm led to believe Saint Valentine was actually a Jake. And you're gonna see why. Right? And they named and they tied the righteous into with the wicked. Right? That's what Christianity, that's what they were doing around that time. They would take the truth and they would mix it with paganism. right? That's where you get the Constantine with the unicimal councils, 382 AD. They were mixing pagan beliefs with the truth, right? And it says there are several legends surrounding the life of Saint Valentine. The most common is that on February 14th, during the 3rd century AD, a man named Valentine was executed by the Roman Emperor Claudius II after being imprisoned for assisting persecuted Christians and secretly marrying Christian couples in love. Right? So he was persecuted by Emperor Claudius II, right, for helping the Christians during this time. And we know who the true Christians were when you read Acts 13:1. They were so-called black men. Right? So I'm led to believe this is a Jake that was being righteous and was in prison for it. Just like Paul, Silas, Peter, Micaiah, Jeremiah, right? A lot of our prophets and our ancient men were in prison for doing the work, right? As the story goes, during the Valentine's imprisonment, he tried converting Claudius to Christianity, right? Probably in the same way that Paul was talking to King Agrippa, right? Using guile to get out of the situation. You read Acts the 26th chapter. Claudius became enraged and ordered Valentine to reject his faith or be killed, right? So the same thing, like when you read about Antipas, let's get this in let's get this in the scriptures, right? Antipas was a faithful martyr of the Lord who was burned in a brazen bull, right? Because he didn't want to get down, right, with their gods. Right, this Revelations 2:12, and to the angel of the church of Pergamos, write, these things saith he which hath the sharp sword with two edges. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days where Antipas was my faithful martyr, which was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. And when you go into Antipas, he didn't want to deny the faith of the Lord, and they killed him in a brazen bull. And you had a lot of martyrs during the Roman Empire, right? You had a lot of martyrs during the Roman Empire. You get this in Acts. See if this is what I want. Right? It's Acts 12:1. Now, about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, right? So we're reading this even in Acts. Right, Herod was vexed a certain church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw please the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. These were the days of unleavened bread. So around the time of Passover, you had James, the brother of John, that was beheaded. So you had a lot of, who they would call Christians, right? Those are followers of Yahweh Shah, were being persecuted. So I'm led to believe this man Valentine was an Israelite, being persecuted by the church, by Claudius II, right? The church was being persecuted, and they took him, imprisoned him, to reject his faith to be killed, right? He refused to forsake his faith, so Valentine was beheaded. So he was a martyr for the Lord. Legend also tells of another story that during Valentine's imprisonment, after he tutored a girl named Julia, the blind daughter of his jailer, the legend states God restored Julia's sight after she and Valentine prayed together. Lord willing, she was a Eve. On the eve of his execution, Valentine supposedly penned a note to Julia and signed it from your Valentine. So that's why I know this is a J, because Esau's not that smooth. Esau's not, right before he died, he's kind of say from your Valentine, and she remembered him forever. Esau he don't have salt like that, right? Jake has that salt, right? Only Jake will do something like that to a female. Right? Kind of wooed her, as they say. Right? And it says some historians believe more than one man named Valentine was executed by Claudius II, despite the ambiguity surrounding Valentine and his life. The Catholic Church declared him a saint and listed him in Roman martyrology as being martyred on February 14th day. All right. So they tied in, Jake, with the truth. With paganism. And that was, like I said, that was done a lot during this time. Thanks to Saint Valentine's reputation as a patron of lovers, he became synonymous with the romance. In the late 15th century AD, Pope Gelasius the first eliminated the pagan celebration of Lupercalia and declared February 14th a day to celebrate the martyrdom of Saint Valentine instead. although it's highly unlikely intended the day to commemorate a love and passion. In fact, some modern biblical scholars warn Christians not to celebrate Valentine's Day. We tell you don't do it at all, since it's thought to be based on pagan rituals, right? So they, okay, so this is about Valentine. He's a martyr for the Lord, right? This is so it's it's about the Lord, it's about Valentine, but it was really about what we said earlier, right? Being violent and sexually charged. That's what it's about. So that's why we'll warn you, who is Israelites, the true Christians, will tell you don't do this. Do not do this. It's evil. Right? It's true. Valentine's Day uses some of Lupercalia symbols intentionally or not. It's intentional, as we know, such as the color red, which represented a blood sacrifice during Lupercalia, and the color white, which signified the milk used to wipe the blood clean and represents new life and procreation. All right, so let's get this. In Colossians 2:8. That's why we said, Jay, don't do it. Because you're gonna be in heavy idolatry if you celebrate this day. Colossians 2:8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments and not after Hamashiach. So the rudiments of the world and not after Hamashiach. So you don't want to celebrate these days. You don't want to get down with the things in this world, because secretly you're getting down with things you may not know of. This is a tradition of man. Man came up with this. It's not established by Yahbashim Yahushua. It's not established to glorify the Lord or your people on behalf of the Lord. It's not established by that. It's by the rudiments of the world. And then we go to John chapter 15. And that's why brothers go out there when it's 3 degrees outside to tell Jake what? You're not from here. Stop. Right? It's John chapter 15:18. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world will love his own. Right? But you are not of the world, but because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore hath the world hated you. So you're not from here. Literally, you're not even from the side of the world, let alone this place, man. The Lord chose us out of the world because in the world they do vain things. They do things that have no profit. They do things that causes you to be destroyed. All right, let's get the book of Jeremiah. Actually, Wisdom of Solomon 13. Because you got to understand the origin of these high holy days that they come up with in the world is just based off idolatry and paganism. None of these things are real. None of these things. You got 2 Edomites that was raised by a wolf, and that wolf brought him to a place called Lupercalia, right? And that's how the Romans started. So they named a day after that where they had to, they were sacrificing some wolves, got blood on them, wiped it with the goat's milk, right? And then you have February. And now on that day, you have it's vain thoughts, deep thoughts. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and verse 13. I'm gonna start verse 12. After spending the refuse of his work to dress his meat, have filled himself, and taking their very refuse among those which serve to no use, talking about ancient idol gods, being a crooked piece of wood and full of knots, have carved it diligently, when he have nothing else to do, informed it by the skill of his understanding, and fashioned it to the image of man. And that's how idolatry, that's how idols work. You have nothing to do. You're bored. And you form it by the skill of your understanding. They have deep thoughts upon their bed. They meditate deep into wickedness. Right? About these stories that they will come up with that have no profit or use. Right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 36. Right? Let's see what I want. Kind of not what I want. Right? They meditate deep thoughts upon their bed. Man. See what I want. Just for the sake of time. Because Esau, I mean, think about these high holy days. Think about where they actually come from. Right? Think about where they actually come from. And we're reading it. Okay, this is what I want. Job 21:27. Behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which you wrongfully imagine against me. Right? These are the thoughts and these are the wrongful devices that Esau has imagined against Yahweh Shem Yahushua by coming up with his own gods based off pagan rituals. All right, before sake of time, let me get into this. Right? Let me scroll down a little bit. Come. Right? A little bit more into this Lupercalia, right? In 496 AD, Pope Galatius appears to have come clean by formally declaring the 14th, February 14th, be St. Valentine's Day, and now rebranded as a Christian feast day. Right? The first real association of St. Valentine's Day with romantic love or lovebirds derives from Geoffrey Chaucer's Parliament of Fowls, dating from 1382. Chaucer celebrated the engagement of the 15-year-old King Richard II to Anne of Bohemia via a poem, in which he wrote, "For this was on St. Valentine's Day, where every bird fowl cometh to choose his mate." So the essence of Valentine's Day started to change around the 14th century, right? Whereas now it's more about love, Cupid, right? And another thing, where does he come from? They say this is Saint Valentine. I mean, look at this. Where is this at in the Bible? Where the angels or Cupid, they got him portrayed, a little Edomite baby. Where is this? And he's shooting hearts into you. He's a cunning hunter. He is a cunning hunter. That's why he's always with a bow and arrow, ready to hunt you. All right? Look at that, man. Now, last article. Now, this is going to blow your mind. 10 bizarre facts about Lupercalia, the original St. Valentine's Day. All right? So we went into some pretty, lewd and wicked things. Right, but you're going to have 10 bizarre, you have 10 more bizarre facts about the day. It just keeps getting better. Right? It just keeps getting better. It says, long before we started giving cage cards to girls to let them know that we woo choo choo, all right, whatever. It's made by Mark Oliver. Right, let's just get straight into it. Right, for sake of time. The murdering of cute puppies. On the original Valentine's Day, the Romans kicked off the festivities by dragging 2 goats and a puppy into a cave and letting a group of cultish priests ritually slaughter them, right? That's what Esau does. The instructions were specific about the puppy part. It couldn't be a mature dog. It had to be an adorable baby puppy. Right? Even the Romans didn't really understand why they had to kill a puppy. Their best sources we have on the holiday were written centuries after it began. By then, Lupercalia was just an old tradition, and the Romans were writing about it to make it clear that they didn't understand any of it, right? Because it was vain. You're killing cute puppies, cute dogs with goats. The feigning of laughter of the blood-soaked boys. Right? So when they would put the blood on themselves, they were required to feign laughter. They were required to, they had to laugh. After you put the milk and the blood on your head, right? You had to laugh. Wow. The streaking of the thong carrying men, right? So as we read in earlier, they had to strike you with thongs, right? With whips, right? They had to be covered in oil for it. That sounds like a bad beating. They had to be covered in oil, and they'll run around. They will strip you naked, and you have to run up and down the street, and while they're hitting you with a whip. Wow. Right? The eating of the entrails on a stick, right? They were eating goats, right, during this time. The hooking up with swingers, right? You have swinger parties. You got all of these different things they do in Babylon are great, but this is what they'll do. That, like I said, they'll pair you together. They're hooking you up with swingers, right? Shalaki. Right? Random strangers. Now, this is what I really wanted to touch on before we wrap up. The celebration of the horny god. Yes, you read it right. The celebration of the horny god. Right? And it says, like any good festival, Lupercalia had its classic stories. One of the classic Lupercalia story fans was overly called an old tale full of laughter. Right? You know, Hercules, his mistress. Let me see what I want. There was some part in here that I really wanted. All right, here it goes. Phantom sees Hercules walking with his mistress and declares she will be my passion. This, however, is wrong. So that doesn't mean he is going to write her love notes and ask for a date. Instead, he plans on waiting until she's sleeping, sneaking into her house and going wild. So this is crazy. This is rape until she's asleep and going wild. Right? This is what Hercules was doing. And they throw Hercules all in your face. Right? They throw Hercules and these other deities all in your face. Right? So you really worshiping Satan. You're worshiping lewdness. It's called Lupercalia. Right? You know the history behind St. Valentine's Day. Right? Let me get this last precept. Lord willing, you have a deeper understanding of why this holiday, this so-called holiday is so dark, man. Right? You go to Romans chapter 12. Classic. 12 and 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, that acceptable, and perfect will of Yahweh. So stay away from this world, man. Right? Get away from this world. Don't participate in the things this world wants you to participate in. Right? I like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Right? Keep the Sabbath holy. And like to bid a mighty strong shalom.